The first knock came just after 2:13 a.m. Not loud, not desperate, just precise. 3 evenly spaced taps against the front door, like someone who knew exactly how much force it took to wake a sleeping house without alerting the neighbors. I remember because I checked the clock twice. At first, I thought I imagined it. My house sat alone at the end of a narrow road in rural Pennsylvania, surrounded by bare trees that scraped the sky like blackened fingers. No one came out here unannounced, not at night, not ever. Even deliveries stopped a mile down. Then it came again. 3 knocks, same rhythm, same restraint. I sat up slowly in bed, heart already thudding harder than it should have. There's something about a knock at that hour that bypasses logic entirely. Your brain doesn't process it as visitor. It processes it as wrong. My dog, Ranger, lifted his head from the floor beside my bed. He didn't bark. That was the first thing that unsettled me. Ranger barked at everything, passing cars. Distant thunder, sometimes his own reflection. But now he just stared at the bedroom door, ears slightly back, body tense. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, not sure why I was whispering. Another knock, this time louder. 3 taps, deliberate, patient. I swung my legs off the bed and stood, every instinct telling me not to go downstairs. But instinct doesn't always win against curiosity, or habit, or that strange, ingrained politeness that tells you have to answer the door, no matter the hour. I grabbed my phone and flicked on the flashlight, then made my way into the hallway. The house felt different, quieter than usual, like the air itself was holding its breath. As I reached the top of the stairs, Ranger finally stood, but he didn't follow me. He stayed planted in the doorway, watching. "Come on," I said softly. He didn't move. That was the second thing that felt wrong. I descended slowly, each step creaking louder than it ever had before. The knocking didn't come again, but I could feel the presence of it, like whoever was outside knew I was coming. At the bottom of the stairs, I paused. The front door stood just 10 feet away, framed by a narrow hallway. The porch light was off. I never left it off. I swallowed hard and reached for the switch. Nothing happened. The bulb hadn't burned out. It had been working fine earlier that night, but now it was dead. My phone's flashlight cast a weak beam toward the door. I stepped closer, heart hammering. "Hello?" I called out, my voice tighter than I wanted. No answer. I moved closer, stopping just short of the door. There was no peephole. Old houses don't always have them. And the windows flanking the door were covered with thick curtains I'd drawn shut hours earlier. "Who is it?" I asked. Silence. Then a voice, soft, barely above a whisper. "Can you let me in?" It was a woman's voice, calm, even, almost too even. I hesitated. "Who are you?" A pause, then the same voice, same tone, same words. "Can you let me in?" Something cold settled in my stomach. "Do you need help?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Are you hurt?" Another pause. Then again. "Can you let me in?" The exact same inflection, the exact same cadence, like a recording being played back. I took a step back from the door. "Where did you come from?" I pressed. "There's no houses around here." No response, just silence. I stood there for a long moment, listening, waiting for any sound, footsteps, breathing, anything. But there was nothing. Finally, I turned the deadbolt just enough to engage the lock, more firmly. It was already locked, but I needed to do something with my hands. "I'm calling the police," I said louder this time. That's when the knocking started again, but not at the front door. Behind me, 3 knocks from the back door. I froze. My house had 2 entrances, the front door where I stood, and a back door that opened into the kitchen. There was no way anyone could have moved from one to the other that fast without me hearing. Footsteps, gravel, something. 3 more knocks from the back. Ranger finally barked upstairs, a frantic, high-pitched sound I'd never heard from him before. Then, at the front door, another 3 knocks. Now both doors, alternating. Front, back, front, back. Each set perfectly spaced, perfectly controlled. My chest tightened as panic began to set in. I backed away from the front door, eyes darting toward the hallway that led to the kitchen. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice cracking now. The knocking stopped. Silence flooded the house. For a moment, I thought it was over. Then, both doors at once. 3 knocks, louder than before. I staggered backward, nearly dropping my phone. Ranger's barking turned into a low, continuous growl. And then the voice came again, but this time it wasn't outside. "Can you let me in?" It came from upstairs, from the hallway, right outside my bedroom. I didn't think. I ran. I bolted for the stairs, taking them 2 at a time, my pulse pounding in my ears. Ranger met me halfway down the hall. His fur bristled, teeth bared, staring toward the open bedroom door. The voice came again, inside the room now. "Can you let me in?" I grabbed Ranger by the collar and pulled him back, slamming the bedroom door shut and locking it. We both stood there listening. The house fell silent again. No knocking, no voice. Just the sound of my own breathing. Minutes passed, or maybe seconds. Time didn't feel real anymore. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed in that room until sunrise, clutching my phone, too afraid to even call anyone because I didn't know what I'd say. When the first light finally crept through the curtains, I forced myself to move. I unlocked the bedroom door and stepped into the hallway. Nothing. The house looked exactly as it always did. I went downstairs, every step cautious. The front door was still locked. So was the back. No signs of forced entry. No footprints outside. No broken windows. Nothing. For a moment, I almost convinced myself it had been some kind of dream. Sleep paralysis. A hallucination. Until I noticed the door. 3 marks on the inside of the front door. Scratches. Perfectly spaced. Like something or someone had knocked from within. The second story didn't happen to me. It happened to my neighbor Daniel about 6 months after I moved in. He was the kind of guy who didn't scare easily. Former military, early 40s, lived alone about half a mile down the road. We'd talked a few times, mostly about mundane things. Weather, property lines, the usual. One afternoon, he showed up at my door looking off, paler than usual, eyes darting like he hadn't slept. "You ever hear knocking at night?" he asked, without preamble. My stomach tightened. "What kind of knocking?" I said carefully. 3 knocks, he replied immediately. Always 3. I didn't say anything. He let out a short, humorless laugh. "Yeah, I figured. He told me it started a week earlier. Same pattern, same time, around 2 a.m., always 3 knocks. At first he ignored it, figured it was kids messing around, even though there were no kids anywhere near here. But then one night, he decided to check. He grabbed his gun, went to the door, and called out. No answer. So he opened it. Nothing there. Just the empty yard, the trees swaying slightly in the wind. But as he stood there, scanning the darkness, he heard something behind him. 3 knocks from inside the house. He turned slowly. The sound was coming from his bedroom door, which he knew he'd left open. But now it was closed, and something was knocking from the other side. I didn't open it, he said, his voice shaking slightly. I'm not stupid. What did you do? I asked. I left, he said simply. Got in my truck and drove until morning. He didn't go back for 2 days. When he finally returned, everything looked normal, except for one thing. His bedroom door, on the inside, 3 deep indentations, like someone had knocked hard enough to dent the wood. But here's the part that messes with me, he said, leaning closer. I checked my security cameras. He had cameras covering every angle of his property. There was nothing, he said. No one came up the driveway. No one walked up to the house. He swallowed. But at 2:13 a.m., the audio picked something up. He pulled out his phone and played the clip. At first, there was just silence. Then, 3 knocks, clear as day, from inside the house. The third story came from a 911 dispatcher in a nearby town. I only heard it because it made local news for about a day before quietly disappearing. A woman had called in the middle of the night, whispering, clearly terrified. There's someone at my door, she said. The dispatcher asked if she could see them. No, the woman replied. They won't stand in front of the window. They just keep knocking. How many people? The dispatcher asked. A pause. Just one. She said, I think the knocking could be heard faintly through the call. 3 taps, then silence. Then 3 more. The dispatcher told her to stay on the line and not open the door. Ask them who they are, she instructed. The woman hesitated, then called out, Who is it? Silence. Then a voice, identical to the woman's own. Can you let me in? The dispatcher froze. Ma'am, she said carefully, is there anyone else in the house with you? No, the woman whispered. I live alone. Another knock. 3 taps, closer this time. Not at the front door, at her bedroom door. The dispatcher's voice sharpened. Ma'am, I need you to get out of the house immediately. I can't, the woman said, panic rising. It's right outside the door. The knocking continued. 3 taps, over and over. Then silence. Ma'am? The dispatcher said. No response. Ma'am, are you there? Nothing. The line stayed open for another 2 minutes before disconnecting. Police arrived shortly after. The front door was locked. No signs of entry. The woman was found in her bedroom, alone. No injuries, no signs of struggle. But she was unresponsive, staring at the door, and on the inside of that door, 3 marks. The 4th story is the one I haven't told anyone, not until now, because it didn't end. It never stopped. The knocking still happens, not every night, but often enough that I don't sleep properly anymore. Always at 2:13 a.m., always 3 knocks. I stopped going to the door a long time ago. I stopped asking questions. But it doesn't matter, because it doesn't stay outside. A few nights ago, I woke up before it started. I don't know why. Maybe my body just learned the pattern. The clock read 2:12 a.m. I lay there, staring at the ceiling. Ranger curled tightly against the bed, trembling slightly. Then, 2, 13. 3 knocks. From the front door. I closed my eyes, trying to ignore it. 3 knocks. From the back door. Ranger whimpered. I stayed still. 3 knocks. From the hallway. Closer. My breath caught in my throat. 3 knocks. From my bedroom door. I squeezed my eyes shut, refusing to look. Then, nothing. No sound. No movement. Just silence. I waited. Seconds stretched into minutes. Finally, slowly, I opened my eyes. The room was dark. Still, I let out a shaky breath. Maybe it was over. Maybe this time, a voice cut through the silence right beside my bed. "Can you let me in?" I turned my head, and for the first time, I saw it, standing in the corner of my room, perfectly still, watching me, smiling, and then it knocked 3 times on the inside of my skull.